going to learn how to create a search. And I selected a search for address-only voters. The reason I selected that search is it's got multiple steps, and I've added some steps to introduce you to different fields in VAN. There's many ways to get to the same place, and there's many different things you can do with VAN. So feel free to experiment. That's the best way to learn how to use it. Now we're going to create a list of address-only active Democrats in your precinct, and then we're going to remove all voters with phone numbers and emails. So we're going to start with finding all active Democrats in your precinct. You're going to go to votebuilder.com, and you're going to go to the home screen and create a new list. Now, once you click on create a new list, you're going to get to all the different fields you can use, and you can drag them to the most convenient arrangement. I like to start with party, then home districts, then voter status and voter registration, and then suppressions. You might have a different way you prefer it. Use the gray bars to drag the fields to where you want them, and you can click on your favorites by using the star. I'm going to start with party, and I'm going to select Democrat. After that, I'm going to home districts. You want to ignore media market and go to county. My county is Lee County, which I select from the drop-down menu, but choose your county. And then after you select county, you'll be able to select your precinct. Go ahead and select your precinct. If you want to select multiple precincts, click on the word precinct. It's a link which will take you to a list. Then we go to voter status and voter registration, and we only want registered active selected. After this, we want to remove all suppressions. And we want to do this every time before we preview our results because it messes things up if you don't. It's a little bit of a glitch in the system, so you want to remove all suppressions every single time. After this, you're going to preview your results. I like to do a step and then preview my results and then add another step so I can keep track of whether it's working or not, whether the number of people is reasonable, and it's easier for somebody else to follow what I've done. So I click preview my results, and I can see that my criteria is listed at the top, and I want to make sure that that makes sense. And I want to see if my number is reasonable. And I'm in a small precinct with very few Democrats, so 210 is very reasonable. Now we want to remove all voters with phone numbers, so we're going to add a step. And what we want to do from the drop-down menu is remove people. We also want to remove all suppressions again, and I do that right away so I don't forget to do it. So go now to the phones field, and one way of removing everybody with phones is to click on this gray symbol. And if you click on that 2 times, you're going to remove voters who've ever had a phone number added into that field. Once you click it twice, it says this field is not empty. So we want to remove anybody that has a full field that has a phone number added. That's one way of doing it. There are other ways too. So what we're going to do is preview results after this. Notice that my numbers have dropped from 210 to 19. That's because most of my Democrats do have phone numbers. And again, check your criteria, check your number. Now we want to remove all voters with personal emails next. So I'm going to remove people again. I'm going to remove all suppressions again. And now I'm going to go to the field marked email. And we only email people with personal emails. So with us, it makes sense just to remove people with personal emails. It's maybe different in your county, but we're going to go to the email type, go to the drop-down menu, which is going up here, and select personal so we can remove people with personal emails. We're going to preview the results again and make sure that the number makes sense. And I've removed a few more people. I have 14 people left. Now I'm going to remove voters who've been marked as moved or not Democrat using an activist code. And I want you to see activist codes. So we're going to add another step. And we're going to remove people again. We're going to remove all suppressions again. And we're going to go to the field marked activist codes. If you want to remove one activist code, go to the drop-down menu. If you want to remove more than one, click on the words activist code. I want to click on 2 of them. I suggest you look at activist codes and see what's available to you. This is a good way to either narrow to people or remove people who've enrolled in vote by mail. There's all different ways you can get volunteers here. There's a whole lot of different things here. So just be familiar with what you can do. We're going to remove people who've moved and people that we've marked as not Dem. You go down to the bottom right. You have to save it before you move on. I'm going to preview my results again. Didn't change. Now we're going to remove people who we have marked as deceased, hostile, refused contact, or moved. And we do this when we canvass. If you go to somebody's door, you often mark somebody as moved, or if you're making a phone call, all those results go into VAN, and this is where they end up. You want to add a step, and you want to remove people again. You want to remove all suppressions, and the place these results end up is in Canvas status. Now, when we go to Canvas status, we're including the groups we want to remove. So you want to go to the drop down and pick include only. It's a little bit tricky, but because we're removing people, these are the people we want to include in who we're removing. And we're clicking deceased, hostile, moved, and refused contact. You can see all the other options you have. And we want to remove people who've been marked recently. So we can go to date canvassed and select between. And we want to have people that have been, these codes have been added after, in the beginning of 21, after 2020. So we're going to go ahead and select 1/1/21, and we do not need an end date. So these are people who we've canvassed after 2020, and we've marked them according to these results. We preview the results again. Mine didn't change at all. Now we want to narrow the search to voters with USPS verified mailing address. So we can remove people, but we can also narrow it to people we want to include, and we only want to include those people. So now we're going to add a step again. We're going to narrow people this time. We're going to remove all suppressions. We're going to addresses, and down at the bottom, we want USPS verified only. So if you're doing any kind of postcarding, you want to do this. I preview my results. It didn't change for me. And now I'm finished, so I want to run my search. Click Run Search, and you're going to get a list. And this shows there are 14 people at 13 different mailboxes. It also shows the number of doors if you were going to knock on doors. Always save your list. This is something that's very easy to forget, but that way you can get back to it later. So go to Save List As in the top right corner. We want to save this as a search so we can reuse it. So click Saved Search, and this screen will pop up. You want to save your search in a folder. I have a folder for my precinct. You can create that folder right here by clicking New Folder. So if you don't have a folder for your precinct, go ahead and create one. Otherwise, I can select it from the drop-down menu. You want to name your search so you know what it is in the future. And if necessary, provide in a description. It can give you more information. And then you're going to save it. To get back to your list, you're going to hit Run Search at the top. You're going to be asked if you want to overwrite your previous list. Hit OK. And there's your list. Now you can use it You can print it out for people to write postcards, or if it was a different type of list, you could do other things like make phone calls, or you could cut turf or whatever. But this is a list for postcarding. So we would print it. And once you hit print, you can save it as a PDF, or you can just print it out. And now you know how to use some of these different fields in Vote Builder.